Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny and Thomas. We have just seen Deontay Wilder return to action with a seventh round stoppage against Tyrrell Hendon. In not the most exciting fight. We didn't get kind of a first round knockout. We didn't get a highlight real knockout from Deontay Wilder against an opponent who was quite negative and didn't really want to be there. Danny, give us your reaction to what we've just seen, please.
Yeah, fairly disappointing fight, especially when if you're in the UK, like me and yourself, you stayed up to getting on 5:30 in the morning to watch it. As you correctly alluded to, Tyler Herndon, very negative, very poor, I thought. From the first couple of rounds, he was turning his back, looking at the floor, and then the stoppage was strange because midway through the sixth round, I mean, Wilder didn't really land anything clean, but Herndon just started falling down quite a lot. And I think as soon as Wilder landed a clean shot, that was just what the ref was waiting for because I don't think we really needed to see anymore. But I don't think there's any questions that have been answered about Deontay Wilder. I don't think any were ever going to be, even if he did produce a highlight reel knockout over Tyrrell Herndon, given how limited a fighter Herndon is. But the fact it's took him that long to get him out of there, and okay, Herndon's negative, but he's not particularly talented. He's just a fighter of Wilder's former caliber, a former world champion, should be able to find a fight ending shot quicker than he did. So yeah, fairly flat fight all round, and certainly there won't be too many people with any higher expectations for Deontay Wilder off the back of it.
Yeah, I think on one hand you can say Deontay Wilder just needed to kind of win a fight tonight, not won a fight since October 2022 against Robert Helenius. On the other hand, and I'm kind of going to sound like a box rec merchant here, but looking at Hendon's resume, knocked out in two rounds against Richard Torres Jr. when Torres Jr. was 6-0, and yeah, lost to FA Ajagba on Ajagba's debut in one round. And the fact you compare that to Wilder, and it's taken Wilder 7 rounds to get out of him, you can't help but think that kind of the old Deontay Wilder would have got rid of him in the first round or so. Thomas, give us your thoughts. Did you see kind of glimpses there of the old bronze bomber? Do you think this is a Deontay Wilder who's maybe just hanging around for a few more paydays? What did you make of the fight?
Yeah, I definitely I don't know if I would say we saw a glimpse of the old bronze bomber. But I will say that it's tough to judge because like Danny said, his opponent just didn't really have much to offer at all. So even if he did, you know, get him out of there super early, um, like Danny said, we still wouldn't have learned a whole lot. And But that said, though, I do think, like you said, Elliot, that I think the important thing here for Wilder was just getting a win under his belt. Not however means necessary, even if it's not the most entertaining or you know pleasing fight. I think the important thing for Wilder is or was to get the W. And he did get it inside the distance. Yeah, and it was a weird stoppage, but I think like if you look at it without context, it definitely seems like a weird stoppage. But seeing the whole fight in full like we did, I think it's easy to see why the referee stopped the fight. In my opinion, it just seemed like it got to the point where every shot, whether it was landing cleanly or not, was just like wobbling Herndon over. Seemed like he could barely stay on his feet at that point. So it made sense to me. So yeah, I mean, not really the most scintillating performance from Wilder, but I mean, what can we expect from, he's what 39, 40. So
Yeah, I think when you're going up against someone who has no intention of winning, I think maybe it's a bit difficult to look good. Daniel, I'll go back to you in terms of what happens next with Wilder. Is I watched his post-fight interview and he didn't kind of seem to call anyone out, or he was just kind of like thanking people, which is fine. But do you think now what's more likely, him to kind of go into a big fight next, or kind of be out again in a couple of months against someone kind of maybe with a higher quality than Tyrrell Hendon, but yeah, someone who kind of wants to fight a bit more. What do you think is more likely?
I think he's just came back tonight, as you people say, for the win, and I think next it's much more likely to be a big fight if one's presented to him, which you imagine there will be big fight offers. He still has name value. I think if you take too much of a step up from Tyrrell Herndon, you risk getting him beat and not a big fight, and then it really is sort of done. And yeah, I was sort of surprised that he didn't call out. We maybe come on to it. The Anthony Joshua fights been spoke about. I know it's one that sort of we think could be potentially likely. That's an interesting matchup. Based off what we've seen tonight, I don't know how much I would like Wilder's chances in it. And to be honest, I don't know how much I would like his chances against any heavyweight in and around the top 10. Now, I think he really is quite far down the back nine and maybe even further than I thought before tonight. But yeah, it's got to be big fights only for him. You know, fighters when they reach his age and the stage of his career, they don't tend to have too many tune-up fights. He has had one. I don't think he'll have too many more, and I think next time we'll see him, it will be in a big one.
Yeah, and I think that another one of Wilder's problems is inactivity. If you look last 4 years, he's kind of been fighting pretty much once a year, and that's not enough. So really, I think he needs to be out again in the next 2, 3 months, in my opinion, whether that's in a big fight or not. Danny, what's your take on the whole Dave Allen thing? Because that's been a name that's been floated around. Dave Allen's been linked with other top heavyweights, but Dave Allen is maybe better than Tyrell Hendon, but nowhere near a top 10 heavyweight. But thoughts on like, do you think that would be a good idea for Wilder? And do you think Dave Allen will actually have a chance of beating Deontay Wilder?
I think he'd have a chance of beating him. Yeah, I don't think even the right hand looks to be the same punch as it was. Even at the end, Herndon wasn't really hurt by that shot, and that he was absolutely exhausted by that stage. He's not a durable fighter, as we've discussed. Dave Allen has had always had a good chin. He's a fighter high in confidence. At the minute, he's quite an intelligent fighter in terms of ring IQ. And I think he would really fancy the job against Deontay Wilder. I'm not saying I would necessarily pick him to beat him yet. I'd have to maybe think about it a bit more. Don't think it will happen though. I think Deontay Wilder is looking for a Saudi payday, and even though it would be a big fight in the UK, worldwide, when maybe Thomas will be want to ask about this. Is Dave Allen a big name in America? I know he's big over here at the minute, but I wouldn't really
Yeah,
guess
no,
that.
I wouldn't say so.
No,
So
don't.
yeah, I think Wilder's probably looking at bigger fish. With no disrespect to Dave.
Yeah. I think look, Riyadh season is coming soon, and I think those Riyadh season cards are being put together now. And Deontay Wilder, I'm sure wants to put his name into the hat for to be in one of those cards. Thomas, I'll end things with you because it's beyond late where we are.
Certainly.
Where where's your what do you think is going to happen here with Wilder? I'm not saying what you think should happen, but what do you think is going to happen? Do you agree with Danny that we're going to see Wilder in a kind of a big fight next, slow or slash against the top 10, top 15 heavyweight next? Or do you think it's more likely to be it will be more of a rebuilding process and he'll be back out again with someone who's, as I said, better than Tyrell Herndon, but not top quality?
No, I think Danny has a great point. Um, I think it's best to strike while I don't want to say strike while the iron's hot because he doesn't really have a whole lot of time left, but you know what I mean. Like he's got to get going and get either one last big payday or at least two more or three more or how many others. But um, I do think perhaps let's see what Joshua does next. If he looks good in his next fight and he gets a scintillating knockout, maybe people would be interested in seeing that fight just straight away. Me personally, I would just because I don't think, neither guy is going to get any better. So I think, why not just do it now? Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a possibility, but it could be a bit of a sad affair if it does happen. But who knows? Look, I think I think there's a possibility that fight does happen now. It's still a sellable fight, but it's compared to what it was 7, 8 years ago. It's such a different situation now. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. We'll leave it there. Danny, Thomas, good to speak to both of you. We've seen Deontay Wilder return tonight, but perhaps not looking at as good as he once was. Thank you both for your time. Speak to you again soon.
Likewise, thank
Cheers,
you.
lads.